Hello there, and how are you? This is just a follow-up blog on the last one I did. It's getting close to the time of the full moon, and aside from that, I'm going to be putting probably a few videos up over the next couple of days. I did want to go with some clarification on some of my things that I was saying. Not the least of which, we'll just proceed this way, is with my talking about the major religions of the world. So I don't want you to get me wrong here for a moment, because I think they all are great. And the problem that I have with them is that they've been passed down through the ages. And this age that we've been in has been all about deception. So I personally was brought up Catholic, and then side by side I was presented with a pagan or sort of gypsy. I guess that word is kind of in a gypsy point of view of dealing with things like magic and reading palms and tarot cards. So I get that from my roots. But the Catholicism, a lot of people that were brought up Catholic have major problems with that, and I actually don't have a problem with it, but I don't exactly practice, and even being gay, I was whatever. It's just like, so all I'm saying is like, the reason that I'm sort of at this point of feeling strongly about falling back on what is called a paganism or magic principle, and in some higher stuff that's above those basic ones is ritual magic or high magic, and that's kind of some of the areas that Aleister Crowley and those types of people, the Golden Dawn and the OTO, they were getting into that. But I feel like it's got to work from a really honest and true base, and I think that maybe we're ready for some of that with where we've come over evolution. So that's sort of my point, really. You know, Jason and I, that's Jason, you've seen him in my videos, and usually when there's somebody filming me, he's behind the camera. We were talking about Buddhism because I had an amazing sort of cathartic breakthrough with reading a Buddhist book from the Kadampa sect of Buddhism called Transform Your Life. And I think this is kind of some of the things that are amazing about some of the older religions, is they have some rather simple and eloquent, you can see their eloquence in there. So I did not learn anything new from this book that I did not already know. But sometimes you can have all of this information inside of you, and somebody like, it's like me presenting some of this stuff with my blog of like, where I just feel like, oh, there's like people out there that are like, know way more than me and can present it more in an informative way. But it's the sort of way that it's expressed and the sort of eloquence of putting it all together and of seeing it put just the right way. And so with me, aside from being really a heavy, big advocate of this raw food movement, and specifically of this sort of sproutarian kind of like what I'll call the like 1950s version of raw foodism, which Anne Wigmore and Viktoras Kulvinskas sort of put together, and then in my mind enhanced by some of the superfood and vitamin thinking of the 80s, and then herbalism in general, and then completely amplified and brought to warp speed by the whole David Wolf crowd, which is, in my mind, is David Wolf from my personal experiences is David Wolf and Truth Calkins and Dr. David Jubb, and I list all those people together because I became aware of Truth Calkins and Dr. David Jubb through the David Wolf camp. And they have their faults, and maybe someday I'll do a blog of talking about that. But so that's why I felt like at one point, this was like a year ago, I felt like I'm out of here. My blogs, I'm done. So and then I realized, no, it's like more about talking about this stuff and presenting it eloquent. So along with the raw food diet, of presenting what I consider the other stuff that doesn't get mentioned when you talk about nutrition, well, because it's nutrition, but people forget that there's emotional, spiritual, and mental nutrition, all of which I'm heavily interested in and has been a major breakthrough with me, and of connecting in of where I'm going to bring this around again now, of the idea of pagan magic, and I feel like that just basic raw Wicca, which is and specifically solitary practicing. I'm into that. A lot of people that talk about being a part of a coven, and I'm not into that because I think that everybody should be inventing their own thing. But here's the point of why I say I'm getting more heavily into paying attention to those systems, because they work heavily with nature and the things that are immediately around us, which are the seasons, the cycles of the moon, to a lesser or greater degree astrology. And so, and here is the point of this whole video right here, is that the purest evidence of God that we have is nature, period, because everything else has been sort of perverted, sort of controlled. A lot of the Christian religion was sort of a cult. And then the Romans decided to adapt it, and that's how it became the whole what it is. And the sort of to Roman historians, a lot of the old part of Rome sort of became the Vatican. So, and that's why conspiracy people talk about this like inner game that's going on between like establishments like the Vatican, the royal family, and the Rothschilds. And I'm not an expert on conspiracy theory. I'm just interested in that because something like that is going on, and that's why I use the matrix thinking. So all I'm getting into, and I'm just really getting into this because I had always for years, going on I don't even know how long, been wanting to follow a full year cycle of following the full moons, of following the full moons and the new moons, of knowing where the moon is all the time, of what's going on with that, and of like paying attention to the seasons, and of like preparing your house that matches the fact that you respect this connection, because we are a part of nature. And so that's a part of mankind gone wrong, is just this not being in synchronization with where we come from, the planet Earth, the seasons, the moon, our astrology. I mean, I can't even begin to list all of them. So I think that basically getting in synchronization with like what's around you outside of our houses, and away from your iPods and away from your computer, and of putting some serious effort into like acknowledging all of that, and that is a way that people are going to reinvent a true religion that has been fucked up by the Piscean age, which that's the if you're not familiar with the procession of the equinoxes, we have been in the Pisces age, the Piscean age, and one of the major characters of Pisces is this sort of hidden ability, or this like deceptive quality of where you're not necessarily being lied to, but the truth and what's real is easily avoided or made deceptive or sort of shady or perverted, and that's a Pisces quality. And so if you know a Pisces well, I'm not saying they're bad people, but like if this is the whole truth about a thing that maybe has good and bad elements, a Pisces person is going to be likely to give you like leave some other parts out and just leave things sort of hidden. So not that there's anything wrong with that, but anyways, strangely enough, that's all of recorded history pretty much, is the Piscean age that we've been in. So, and age before is this age of Atlantis and all of that kind of stuff. So I just wanted to clarify about like, that's what I'm doing, is I'm like in this like new age, you know, and I don't have a problem with that new age. People associate stupid things in there and whatever, like things like The Secret, which is like kind of more of a new thing, and that's been like kind of the principle that's involved with The Secret. That's been a little bit dumbed down with what the sort of magical principle that's involved in that. But it's great that it's been dumbed down because it makes that thinking more available to people who've been like, have a prejudice about words and what they mean and the sort of collective consciousness that have been assigned, where words have become poison, and just the utterance of them, where people's shift and oh, that means that. Like for me, I've always been a God boy, a God. I believe in God, but that's a tricky word, right? Because I know when most people say God, they're talking about something I don't believe in at all. That's fundamentalist Christian things. So that's where that word has become poison, and that can occur in a lot of places of where other words like vegan or vegetarian or something like that, of where people go, oh, you know, it's collective consciousness association. And that's where I'm standing with like this new person that I've become in the last couple of months with becoming straight edge, these angel healings and the way they've altered me, is I want to be a positive role model for being vegan, for being aware. And I say the reason I don't care about being vegan is because I want to get on with this like new religion, this religion of the self, of where you're completely removing the need for violence, of where it just seems like it's violent. You know, it's like that's no judgment towards anybody, but this is what I'm talking about with like basically trying to wrap this up now, of the whole idea and living by a lot of what we know, of where you don't strip yourself down, do a little fasting, do a lot of meditation as best you can, and cleaning up and getting more into that, being able to get connected with the high consciousness of prana, of the raw source of that stuff, and realize that through this Piscean age of deception that we have generations of where we've been lied to, and so that's where that's all at basically. So